I remember the day Uche screamed in middle of the school field. The sound cut through everybody like hot blade. His old brown radio was on the ground in pieces. Children stood around him and nobody moved. Even I froze. That radio meant something to him, something nobody understood. His hands were shaking as he held the broken parts, and tears dropped from his face like rain. I had never seen Uche cry before, not even when that boy in primary 4 pushed him into the gutter last term. But that day, he cried like the radio was a human being. A teacher ran from the staff room. People started shouting. Everything scattered. That day changed everything. But before that day, the radio was just one strange thing Uche carried around everywhere. And this is how it all started for me. My name is Kunle. I was the first friend Uche made when he moved to our street. He was the quiet type, always looking like he has something heavy inside him. He smiled sometimes, but it was the kind of smile that looked tired. He carried that old Panasonic radio every single day. The radio was brown with cracks on the side. The speaker had tape on it. The antenna looked like something a goat had chewed. And the worst part was that the radio did not work. No matter what battery you put inside, nothing would happen. But Uche held it like treasure. At first, I thought it was just play. Maybe he was pretending to be a musician or pretending to be a radio presenter. Sometimes children do that kind of thing. But this one was different. He never waved it around. He never played with it. He held it close to his chest like he was protecting it from something. Everywhere he went, the radio followed. Even when we went to the small football pitch near Mama P's shop, he dropped it carefully on the stone and told people not to kick ball near it. People laughed at him. Some called him Radio Boy. Some said something was wrong with him. But I never asked him why. Something about his face always stopped me. One Saturday morning, we were walking to the provision shop to buy biscuits. The sun was hot and the road was dusty. Uche was carrying the radio again. That day, I felt the question rise inside my throat. I wanted to ask him, why do you always hold this thing? Why do you care so much? Why do you never leave it at home? But before I could talk, 2 boys from our school walked past us and started laughing. One pointed at the radio and said that Uche was carrying a dead thing around like baby. Uche did not answer. He just held the radio tighter. And I saw something in his eyes that day. It was quick, like pain, like fear, like memory. That was the moment I knew this radio was not just ordinary radio. It was hiding a story Uche was not ready to tell yet. And I did not know that the day he finally told me would be the day everything in his life would break open the way that radio letter broke on the school field. After that day on the dusty road, the radio refused to leave my mind. I kept thinking about the look in Uche's eyes. The way he held the radio like someone could steal it from him. It was not normal, even for a boy like him who liked quiet and did not talk too much. So I started watching him more, not in a bad way, but in the way someone watches a friend they are trying to understand. Every morning before assembly, I noticed the same routine. Uche would open his bag, bring out the radio, clean it with the edge of his shirt, and hold it on his lap. The radio never worked, not even small sound, but he cleaned it every day like it was something alive. The antenna shook when he wiped it, and sometimes the loose back cover made a tiny clack sound. Whenever that sound happened, he would quickly hold the radio tight as if it hurt him. One afternoon during break time, we were both sitting under the mango tree behind the classroom block. I was eating coconut chips and Uche was turning the radio in his hand. He looked far away, like he was not with me. His eyes were fixed on the radio, but his mind was somewhere else. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to talk. His lips moved a little, but then he just closed his mouth and looked at the ground. It was the closest I had ever seen him to saying the truth hiding inside him. Then something strange happened. A wind blew from nowhere, shaking the mango leaves above us. Some children shouted and ran around. A few leaves fell straight on Uche's head, and one landed on the radio. He removed it slowly. But the way he touched the radio that moment made my heart beat somehow. It looked like someone touching a wound that never healed.
I wanted to ask again, but the fear of spoiling something stopped me. Later that same day, when school closed, we walked home together. His house was before mine, just after the bend near the big bread shop. His mother sat outside frying fish as usual. The smell of smoke and pepper filled the air. Uche greeted her and she asked how school went. She looked tired, the kind of tired that lives inside someone for long, not just from that day's work. I noticed she did not even look at the radio. It was like she could not see it, or maybe she was avoiding it. As we entered the house, I saw something that made my chest rise. On the small table near the window, there was a framed picture of a boy who looked like Uche, but older. Same eyes, same smile, same shape of face. The picture was standing alone on the table, like someone placed it there recently. And beside it was a folded school uniform, neatly ironed but clearly not worn for long. Before I could even think, Uche quickly stepped in front of me, blocking the picture. He held the radio close to his chest again, the same way he did when people laughed at him on the road. He did not say a word, but his silence shouted something. Something deep. Something painful. That was the moment I knew the radio belonged to the boy in the picture. And whatever happened to that boy was the reason Uche carried it everywhere like his life depended on it.
That night, I could not sleep well. The picture of the older boy stayed in my mind. His smile looked bright, but there was something sad about the way the frame stood alone on that small table. And the way Uche blocked the picture so fast told me it was something he did not want anyone to see, even me. I kept turning on my bed, thinking about the radio, the picture, the folded uniform, and the tired look on his mother's face. Everything was pointing at one thing, but I did not want to believe it yet. The next morning at school, Uche was quiet, more quiet than usual. He sat down and placed the radio on his lap. His fingers kept rubbing the side like he was praying with it. I wanted to ask him again, but something told me to wait. So I just sat beside him and watched children running around, laughing, shouting, pushing each other. But Uche was in his own world. Even when the bell rang for assembly, he held the radio a little longer before putting it back inside his bag, like he needed time to let go. During mathematics, he did not hear anything the teacher said. His eyes were fixed on the board, but he was not seeing it. When the teacher asked a question and called his name, he did not even blink. The whole class turned to look at him. Some children giggled. The teacher frowned and told him to stand up. Uche slowly stood, holding his trouser with one hand, like he suddenly felt weak. The teacher repeated the question, but Uche did not answer. He just stared at the floor, lost. I raised my hand and answered quickly so the teacher would leave him alone. When the teacher faced the board again, Uche sat down, without looking at me. His face looked small, like a balloon that lost air. At break time, he did not eat. He just sat with the radio again. I decided to sit beside him under the mango tree. For a long time, we did not talk. Then he said something soft. At first, I did not hear it well because children were shouting near the tap. I moved closer. He kept looking at the radio. His voice was shaking like someone talking inside cold water. He said that the radio used to be full of voice, not noise. Voice. Someone close to him, someone he respected, someone who made him laugh. I felt my chest tighten. He was talking about the boy in the picture. Just when I thought he would finally tell me everything, 3 boys from our class ran to us and started teasing him again. They pointed at the radio and said it belonged in the dustbin. One of them even tried to touch it. Before I could stop him, Uche jumped up and pushed the boy's hand away. His face changed. Not angry, not scared, just hurt. Very hurt. The boys laughed and walked away, but Uche held the radio close like he was protecting a baby. That moment, I understood something. This radio was not just memory. It was pain he carried every day. Pain nobody helped him share. After school, as we walked home, Uche stopped suddenly on the road. Cars were passing, people were shouting prices at the junction, but he stood still. He looked at the radio, then looked at me. His eyes were red, but he was not crying. I waited. My heart was beating fast. He said he wanted to tell me something he had never told anyone in school, something that made him keep the radio everywhere he went. He looked scared and ready at the same time. Then his mother's voice called him from the house, and the moment disappeared like wind blowing out a small candle. But I knew one thing. The truth was coming soon, and it was heavy.
The next day started with trouble, the kind that pushes a story forward even when you are not ready for it. It was Thursday, and Thursdays in our school always felt long. From morning assembly, I already knew something was wrong with Uche. He stood beside me, holding the radio close to his stomach. His shoulders were tight. His eyes were swollen like he did not sleep well. Even his steps were slow when we marched into class. I wanted to ask him if he was fine, but the fear of breaking whatever was holding him together made me keep quiet. Sometimes, silence is the only safe place to stand when your friend is carrying something heavy. During English class, the teacher told us to copy notes, but Uche did not even open his book. His hand stayed on the radio the whole time. I could see the way his fingers kept tracing the crack on the side. It looked like he was trying to hold something inside the radio from escaping. At one point, the teacher walked past our row and tapped his table. He jumped like someone that had thunder inside his ear. The teacher frowned and asked him if he was sick. He shook his head slowly and the teacher walked away. But everybody looked at him. I could see the shame on his face. He hated attention. When break time came, he did not stand up. I bought biscuits for both of us, but he said he was not hungry. He just sat there with the radio resting on his lap. After a while, he said he wanted to go behind the classroom block, where the ground was quiet and children rarely played. I followed him. He sat on the low wall near the flowers. The sun was hot, but the shade from the old tree covered us. He held the radio with both hands and took a deep breath. His lips were shaking. I knew this was it. The truth he had been hiding was about to come out. He looked young and old at the same time, like someone who had seen something that changed him too early. Then he started talking, slowly, like someone walking into cold water. He told me the radio used to belong to his older brother, the same boy in the picture. His brother's name was Chima. They used to share a bed. They used to talk every night. Chima wanted to be a broadcaster, and he practiced with the radio, pretending it was a real microphone. He would make fake news, fake reports, fake shows, and they would both laugh. Uche said the house used to be full of Chima's voice. But one afternoon, after football practice, Chima fell. One moment he was running, the next he was on the ground. People said it was something inside his chest, something he did not know he had. As he talked, his voice became smaller, like the story was dragging the sound out of him. He said the radio used to belong to his older brother, the same guy in the picture. His brother's name was Chima. They used to share a bed. They used to talk every night. Chima wanted to be a broadcaster, and he practiced with the radio, pretending it was a real microphone. He would make fake news, fake reports, fake shows, and they would both laugh. Uche said the house used to be full of Chima's voice. But one afternoon, after football practice, Chima fell. One moment he was running, the next he was on the ground. People said it was something inside his chest, something he did not know he had. As he talked, his voice became smaller, like the story was dragging the sound out of him. He said the radio used to be the last thing Chima held before he slept that night and never woke up. When he said those words, his whole body shook. His fingers tightened around the radio until his knuckles turned white. Before I could say anything, before I could even touch his shoulder, a shadow fell over us. It was one of the boys who always teased him. He must have followed us. He laughed and called the radio useless again. Before I could stand up to block him, he reached for the radio, trying to snatch it. Uche stood up fast, holding the radio away from him. His face was filled with fear, not anger. Fear like someone protecting the last thing they have in this world. The boy laughed louder and said something that made Uche's whole body freeze.
He said that the radio was for dead people, and only someone strange would carry it. I saw something break in Uche's eyes. Not the radio, him. He hugged the radio tight and ran, not fast like someone escaping danger, slow like someone carrying the weight that made his legs heavy. I ran after him, calling his name, but he did not stop. He ran straight out of the school gate, heading home, holding that radio like his heart was inside it. That was the day I learned that when someone carries a memory too long alone, it can start to crush them. And Uche was already bending under the weight.
The next morning felt heavy before it even began. The sky looked dark even though the sun was already up. I knew something big was coming, the kind of thing that pushes a quiet story into the place where everything changes. When I reached school, Uche was not there. His seat was empty. His bag was not on the hook. The radio was not with him. My chest started feeling tight because Uche never missed school, not even on days he looked sick inside. Assembly started, but I was not listening. My eyes kept going to the gate. Halfway through the national anthem, I saw him walking in slowly. His mother was beside him. Her wrapper was tied anyhow, like she rushed from the house without thinking. Uche walked like someone whose body was tired from crying. He held the radio close to his stomach, pressing it against himself like he wanted it to enter inside him. Teachers came to talk to his mother, but I could not hear what they said. All I knew was that something had happened at home, something that made both of them look like they had been fighting tears since dawn. When assembly ended, his mother left and Uche walked to class without looking at anyone. The whole morning, he did not talk, not even to me. His head was down the whole time. People whispered around us. Some were calling him strange again. Some were laughing softly. I kept looking at them with anger building in my chest. They did not understand anything. They did not know what that radio meant. They did not know what Uche was carrying inside him. Then came break time, the moment everything snapped. 3 boys from our class formed a circle around Uche's desk. They started teasing him again, louder than before. One boy stretched his hand toward the radio. I stood up fast to block him, but I was too late. He touched the antenna and it bent more. That was when Uche shouted. Not small shouts, a shout that filled the whole class. The teacher rushed in and asked what was going on, but before anybody could answer, the worst thing happened. The radio slipped from Uche's shaking hand. It hit the floor. A loud crack filled the room. The back cover broke off. The battery fell out. The inside wires scattered like small pieces of a broken secret. For a moment, the whole class went silent. Even the teacher stood still. Uche stared at the floor. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then, everything inside him burst. He fell to his knees and started crying. Not the kind of crying children do when someone steals their pencil. This one came from somewhere deep, somewhere old. Tears dropped on the broken radio parts as he tried to gather them with shaking hands. He kept saying things under his breath. His brother's name, his mother's name, words that sounded like please and don't go. The teacher knelt beside him, confused and scared. Someone was sent to call his mother. I sat beside him even though he did not look at me. All I could do was help him pick the broken pieces. When his mother arrived, she saw him on the ground. She saw the broken radio in his hands. Something inside her face changed. She knelt beside him and held him tight. For the first time, I heard Uche tell her everything. He told her how he kept the radio because he still had his brother's handprint on it. He told her he was scared of forgetting Chima's voice. He told her he hid the radio because he was afraid she would throw it away like she threw out the other things. His mother cried too. Not loudly, just soft tears that said she had been trying to stay strong for too long. She held his head against her chest and said she wished he told her earlier. She said she was afraid to talk about Chima because she thought it would make the pain worse. But seeing Uche hold broken pieces of the radio showed her that keeping memories locked away only makes them heavier. That evening after school, I followed them home. Uche's mother brought a small wooden box from her room. Together, they placed the broken radio part inside it, not to hide, to honor. She put the box beside Chima's picture on the small table. The house felt different, not quiet in a sad way, quiet in a healing way. Uche stopped carrying the radio everywhere after that day. He still missed his brother, but now he did not carry the pain alone. And anytime I visited their house and saw the wooden box beside the framed picture, I remembered the day everything broke so the truth would finally come out. And I knew that was the day Uche started to breathe again.